Have you ever been up against a problem that's so tough, so tricky that there's just no obvious solution? Well, today we are going to break down a really powerful framework that's built for exactly those moments. So let's jump right into the creative problem-solving process. You know the feeling, right? We've all been there. You're just staring at a challenge, feeling completely stuck and wishing a clear path would just magically appear. It doesn't matter if you're trying to invent a new product or just figure out a better workflow. That feeling of being lost in the fog, it can be totally paralyzing. But what if there was a map? See, most of us, our first instinct is to just jump right into brainstorming. Let's throw ideas at the wall. But here's the secret. The key to unlocking truly creative and effective solutions isn't just about generating a ton of ideas. It's all about the planning you do before you even get to that stage. It's about building a solid blueprint for your creativity to build on. And that blueprint, well, it begins right here, with what is maybe the most critical stage of the whole process: appraising the task. Seriously, this is where you lay the foundation for everything. And I mean everything that comes next. Okay, so appraising the task might sound a little academic, but think of it like this. It's the management layer for your creativity. It's the metacognitive part, which is really just a fancy way of saying you're thinking about your thinking. You're stepping back and strategically planning, organizing, and monitoring your efforts to make sure you're actually pointed in the right direction from the get-go. So how do you actually do it? Well, it's not as complicated as it sounds. This whole phase really breaks down into 3 key things you have to get a handle on. You've got to get crystal clear on your desired results, you need to understand the people involved, and you have to get a feel for the context you're working in. Let's start with that first one, desired results. I mean, it makes sense, right? You can't hit a target you can't see. So before you do literally anything else, you have to stop and clearly define what success is actually going to look like. And the first question you need to ask is about novelty. What kind of newness are we talking about here? Are you just making a small tweak to something that already exists? Maybe a minor improvement? Or are you swinging for the fences, trying to create something completely original, a total game changer? Your answer here really shapes your entire approach. And next up, you have to think about the scale of the impact you want to make. It's not enough to just say, I want a big impact. You have to get more specific. Think about its breadth, like how widespread is this change going to be? And then think about its depth. How thoroughly is it going to change things in one specific area? Now, this slide does a fantastic job of showing the difference. On one side, you've got transformational change. This is the big stuff. It's got wide breadth and deep depth. We're talking about things that can change a company's entire mission or vision. It takes a lot more time, energy, and resources. Then on the other side, you've got transactional change. This is much more focused. It's about adapting a process here or a skill there. The breadth and depth are limited. Knowing which of these you're dealing with is absolutely crucial. And that leads to the final question for this part. Once you know the kind of novelty and impact you're after, where is the best place to focus your energy? Where are you going to get the biggest bang for your buck to make sure you actually succeed? But look, figuring out your desired results, as important as it is really only one piece of this planning puzzle. To build a plan that's actually going to work in the real world, you have to look at those other 2 factors, the people and the context. So for the people on your team, you've got to think about their different problem-solving styles, what they already know, and frankly, how interested they are. Are they even bought into this? And then there's the context. You have to ask some tough questions here. Is the overall climate right for this? Is the business actually ready for this kind of change? And maybe most importantly, what's going to help you win? And what roadblocks are already standing in your way? Okay, so once you've done all that hard work up front, once you've appraised the task and you have your blueprint, then you're finally ready to move from planning to building. And this brings us to the core engine of the creative problem-solving process. This process flows through 3 pretty clear phases. First, you understand the challenge. This is all about getting clarity. You dig deep, you gather data, and you really figure out what the core problem is. Next comes the fun part. Develop a variety of ideas. Here, the goal is quantity over quality. You generate as many potential solutions as you can, and you don't judge anything yet. You want wild, crazy ideas. And finally, you prepare for action. This is where you bring it all back in, strengthen your best ideas, and create a solid, concrete plan to make them happen. All right, so now that we've walked through this whole model, it's time to turn the spotlight around a little bit. Let's think about how this structured approach stacks up against the way you might naturally tackle a problem. You know, the real magic of this entire process is that it gives you a deliberate structure for what can otherwise feel like a really chaotic and messy journey. It's a framework to organize your thinking and your actions. It puts up guardrails to make sure you don't skip those crucial planning steps and just jump straight to a half-baked solution. So, I'll leave you with this to think about. How does your own natural problem-solving process really compare to this CPS model? Do you spend enough time upfront appraising the task before you dive in? Just thinking about that for a little bit might be the key to unlocking your next brilliant idea.